On today's program, Donna Holbrook visits the Western Wall. We learn about the excavation of the Pilgrim Road at the City of David, David Silver, and life in Israel as Jewish Christian believers.
I'm looking here and I'm seeing notes in the wall here, in the little nooks and crannies. Tell us about where
we're actually standing at the foundations of the Western Wall, the famous Western Wall. That part of it is the Wailing Wall, or where many people come to pray, is a part of a very, very large wall. We are below the surface of the street at the time, so if you look at the stones, you'll see they aren't as nice and polished as you usually see them when you look at pictures or the location of the prayer area at the Western Wall. We're at the foundations. This is bedrock. This is the first level. There are actually 22 layers that we know in the most places a little bit less, that still stand. Original stones of the Western Wall. The Temple Mount actually supports the huge structure where the temple was actually located. This is a huge project. And the workers putting these stones were so precise and so accurate. They made this amazing frame around each and every stone. And a very known custom in the last centuries is that people coming and putting their names and their prayers on notes. And once this was discovered, and since open to the public in the last few years, many visitors came and said, it's the same thing right here at the foundations, just like the open space that is several yards north of us in that direction. We're actually looking at the foundations of the Western Wall. You can count here 4 original layers. We climb up, get onto the street, and see many more above our head. But we're actually talking about the very famous Temple Mount walls. There are 4 of them. The Western Wall is the famous. Of course, they're northern, eastern, and southern as well. But that's the stones that many people come in the last centuries to pray next to. So here, in this excavation, right next to the drainage channel, when they understood where the location of the excavation is, they said, let's just move a little bit eastward. And yep, right in front, this huge stone wall stands with no cement holding the stones together, just their weight and 2,000 years of history. We're inside the main drainage channel of Jerusalem from the Second Temple period. Or in other words, above our heads is the main marketplace street. And this is partly chiseled, partly built. And the amazing thing is, if you look up, you'll see a stone right above my head. This stone fell during construction of the area of the Temple Mount 2,000 years ago, one of the big Herodian projects. So apparently one of their scaffolding didn't really hold well, and the stone fell. It fell into the drainage system that was being built at the time, and the workers said, what the heck, let's leave it there. And they built the street above it. But the amazing thing is our Sir Charles Warren, that arrived here in the 1860s, was here before us. But if you'll notice in the painting, you can see that he is bending down to be able to go underneath the stone. So in our excavation, we went much deeper down than he did. This isn't Charles Warren himself, this is his helper, painted, crawling under the streets of Jerusalem. This is 145 years ago. Today, we get back to the same location, but actually understand that this drainage system is where all the garbage and whatever we had in our pockets 2,000 years ago went. So coins and artifacts fell in. And I want to just show you one amazing artifact. That's this tiny thing. You are looking at a tiny bell. Now, this doesn't look tiny in the picture. Now look at it on the hand. This is a bell that has a little clapper in it. And we know from the book of Exodus that the high priest had an overcoat, and on top of it there were pomegranates and golden bells. Pomegranates, golden bells. If this is one of them, I have to admit, it's quite a shame that it found its way into its drainage channel, but we need to say thank you very much that it did so, because only that way it was actually discovered in the excavation right here, connecting us with 2,000 years back, with the Second Temple period, with maybe one of the golden bells of the coat of the high priest.
So we're standing at the base of the Kotel, the wall, the Western Wall. Behind me are shooks. These are where the shops would be. And we read and this particular one has been identified as the money changer. In Matthew 21, 12 to 17, when Jesus entered the temple, he drove out all who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers." And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, they said, "Hosanna to the Son of David." They were indignant, and they said to him, "Do you hear what these are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes. Have you never read? Out of the mouth of infants and nursing babies, you have prepared praise." Here we're standing at the base of the Kotel. What is here but heavy stones? We read that Jesus predicted that these stones would fall when no one would believe him. In Matthew 24, 1 and 2, Jesus said, he went up to the temple and was going on his way, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. But he answered and said unto them, "See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." And here we have a marker to show that these rocks from the Temple Mount were destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD.
Up next, excavations at the city of David revealed the Pilgrim Road.
Welcome to Encounter Israel. Now, when Jewish pilgrims came to Jerusalem in Second Temple times, we know where the temple stood. We also know where the Jewish pilgrims went through a ritual cleansing before ascending to the temple. But how did they get there? I'm now standing on the answer, the pilgrimage road. It's still being excavated here in the ancient city of David, and we're going to give you an exclusive look at this newly discovered site only on Encounter Israel. Our guest today is Ari Levy, who's the lead archaeologist on the Pilgrimage Road for the Israel Antiquities Authority. Ari, we're so glad to have you here on Encounter Israel. There's been an exciting new find in Jerusalem recently, the Pilgrimage Road. You're in charge of this excavation. Tell us what's here.
Okay, so we are directly on top of an ancient road that connected the southern parts of Jerusalem directly to the Temple Mountain. This was the main road for pilgrims that came to Jerusalem to be part of the Jewish worship that took place in the Temple Mountain.
Some walked for hundreds, even thousands of miles. They took a ritual cleansing bath down in the Pool of Siloam, and this is the way up to the temple?
Yeah, exactly. They come, they purify themselves, and when they are clean, they start walking towards the temple.
Tell me this, though. It's about a half a mile up, and I understand there's shops and other things. Are you going straight to the temple, or are you stopping to buy things?
We have uncovered very recently the town's square, Jerusalem's square and market.
So this is like the Ben Yehuda of that day.
This is the center, the beating heart of Jerusalem during the Second Temple period. All the trade activities of Jerusalem took place on this certain place that we stand now.
I understand you've still got a lot of digs to do, but you're preparing this to open it to the public one day.
Yeah, after we will finish the excavation here, people will be able to come to the Silwan Pool and to walk from the Silwan Pool to the Temple Mountain directly on those remains. They will be able to see it, to smell it, to touch the original stones, and they will be able to see and witness what the pilgrims in ancient periods used to feel when they came. When the pilgrims came here, there was no roof above their heads. They saw the temple. As they got closer to the temple,
They climbed the hill?
Yeah, they climbed. The temple got bigger and bigger. They got smaller and smaller, and it prepared them mentally to be purified when they reach the temple to worship God.
This is going to be exciting soon for Jews and Christians to walk this journey of the pilgrimage road together. Soon, we're looking forward to that. But thank you, Ari, for this special access to this place, even as you're still digging around and finding things.
Thank you. Good to be at the program.
We're going to turn once again to Zev Ornstein, who's the Director for International Affairs here at the City of David Foundation. Zev, it's great to have you back on Encounter Israel one more time. And we're here on the pilgrimage road. We understand this is where pilgrims dipped in the pool of Siloam and made their way up to the Temple Mount. But is there other evidence of Jewish history and connection here?
When the archaeologists first began excavating the pilgrimage road, they found something very strange. They found a giant pothole, just a giant crack in the pavement. So they thought, okay, today we have potholes. I guess 2,000 years ago, there were potholes. But as they kept excavating, every few feet, they found evenly spaced, identical cracks in the pavement, always in the same spot, always just a few feet apart from each other.
As if it was planned that way.
Deliberately. And archaeologists, they couldn't understand why. Why would someone deliberately break open the pilgrimage road? So they looked to the writings of the historian Josephus. And Josephus says in the year 70, the Romans are destroying the Temple Mount. The temple is in flames. The last Jews of Jerusalem are seeking refuge from the Romans. Where? In the drainage channel beneath where we're standing right now. That you have right over here. This is the drainage channel beneath the pilgrimage road. And Josephus says that there were 2,000 Jews in the year 70 hiding in the drainage channel. And what happens? The Romans find out about it. And they come with sledgehammers. They break open the pilgrimage road. They find 2,000 Jews hiding there.
Oh my.
They find whole cooking pots, meaning the Jews were living there for days, perhaps weeks, maybe even for months, until the Romans find them all and kill them all. Archaeologists find a Roman sword and scabbard, presumably one that was used to kill the last 2,000 Jews of Jerusalem, just beneath our feet over here. Now, when archaeologists excavated this drainage channel, they found a few amazing things. They found a small golden bell in the shape of a pomegranate, which archaeologists believe may have come from the robe of the high priest himself, who was walking somewhere along the pilgrimage road. His robe caught, tore, the bell slipped off, fell down into the drainage channel. Also is found the earliest etching of a menorah ever discovered. One other thing that was found, which connects the drainage channel to the pilgrimage road together. Along the drainage channel, archaeologists find a small white marble, which is known in the Bible as a beka, which is a special weight referred to in the Bible, a beka for a head. Along the pilgrimage road, archaeologists find a silver half-shekel coin. And the archaeologists understood the beka was in the exact weight of a silver half-shekel that were biblically mandated the Jewish people, when there was a temple standing on the Temple Mount, to bring a silver half-shekel coin for the upkeep of the temple. The beka was used by the priest to make sure that it was a kosher silver half-shekel. We found the beka. We found the silver half-shekel. Archaeologists weighed them together, and they matched.
I'm sure for you coming back to this place, seeing all this, you'll never give it up again.
That's right. The Romans, they celebrated our demise in the year 70 of the Arch of Titus in Rome. But today, if you want to see the great Roman Empire, you can go to museums. If you want to see the Jewish people, you come to Jerusalem.
I'm Israel High. Thank you, Zev.
Thank you.
Well, Brother David, it's really been so enlightening, and you've been bringing a lot of insights, especially as somebody who lives in the land, a believing Jew. Do you have any words that you'd like to share with our Canadian Christian viewers who are majority Christians, or any who might be watching today here from Canada?
Yeah, sure. You know, I've been traveling the nations for 23 years. I think I've visited 46 nations. And primarily, my message has been to help the Christian church understand Romans 11 and Ephesians chapter 2.
So key.
Their
Yeah.
identity. Because, and again, the primary reason is for prayer, because we know how to pray and we pray for people, but that kind of prayer is intellectual. It comes from here. The kind of prayer that really changes things, it can't come from here. It has to come out of our spirit, and it can only come out of deep, deep identification. And, you know, I believe that it's so important to God that the Christian church, the non-Jewish part of the church, would understand their relationship to Israel, primarily for that point of prayer, that he had Paul use 3 chapters in the book of Romans, 9, 10, and 11, and it comes to its climax, of course, in Romans 11, and the picture of the olive tree. So I think I believe very clearly from what Paul is teaching there, every true born-again believer, it says, is grafted into the olive tree. Now, the olive tree in the Bible, olive trees or fig trees always are speaking about the physical nation of Israel.
Yeah.
And he continues in Ephesians 2 by starting off speaking to the uncircumcised people, saying that, you know, you who were once aliens and foreigners to the commonwealth of Israel, strangers to the covenants of promise, with no hope, because no connection to God. But it goes on, I think, in verse 13 to say, you who were once far away have been brought near or grafted in by the blood of Yeshua. And in verse 19 it says, therefore you are no longer aliens or foreigners, but fellow citizens. So, you know, in my understanding, God, when we, you know, God clearly sees us, and it's really the vision of our congregation, one new man. There's only one, God only has one nation, God only has one people, God only has one family, and it's the nation or the people or the family he calls Israel. Those of us who are in the tree. So that's been my message to the church for 23 years. And out of that comes this responsibility to get involved with what God is doing, being good fellow workers, co-laborers, and praying for that hastening of the Lord's return by praying the prophecies. So I've been speaking, number one, introducing that concept of being grafted into Israel, and then speaking about what God has been doing in the restoration of Israel, just as as information so that they know how to pray.
Absolutely. Such a key.
But over the last 2 or 3 years, the Lord has began to stretch me and my message, and I believe it's because we are living in the end times, like we've covered. And because time is so short, now the Lord is wanting to bring restoration to the church. Because, see, the true church started off being a part of Israel.
Yes.
But sadly, what happened was, really, I believe that the Greeks came along, the Greeks and the Romans came along, and most of those leaders were previously disciples or students of Socrates and the other Greek philosophers, Plato, Aristotle. And what they did is Satan through them actually ungrafted the church out of the olive tree and put it back into a Hellenistic or a Greek tree.
Yeah, and separated from the root.
And that's the way it's been. And most of church theology is based on a Greek understanding of the Hebrew scriptures rather than a Hebraic understanding. And because the time is so short. Now, the Lord has been restoring Israel for 100 years, and he's had me speak about it. But now he's saying, David, I want you to speak to the church, as well as that, about the restoration of the church.
Wow.
Back to the way it began at the beginning. And, so basically, I'm an evangelist. I guess I've morphed into a Bible teacher, because, of course, I use the Bible to teach from. But I also felt the Lord, just really over the last few months, the Lord began to speak to me, say, David, I want you to be a bridge builder. I thought, that's interesting. And what does a bridge do? A bridge connects 2 disconnected locations. And he showed me there's 4 very serious disconnects going on in the world today.
Okay.
Number one disconnect is most of the church is disconnected from Israel, whereas we've just said the true biblical God's perspective is that the true church is intimately, or should be intimately, grafted in.
Correct.
One nation, one people, one family, but so there's a disconnect there.
Right.
The other thing that's disconnected is, when I first became before I became a believer, because Jewish people, we don't give credibility to the New Testament. So the first thing I had to do was make sure that the New Testament fitted with what was in the Hebrew part of the Bible. And I'm sure this is just a Tanakh, but I've got a Bible with the New Testament, and I hesitate because I don't call it the Old Testament. There is a New Testament, but I believe there's no such thing as the Old Testament, because God says, I am the Lord your God, I don't change.
Right.
So I prefer to call it the Hebrew Scriptures, or the thick part of the Bible.
The thick part of the Bible.
Most Bibles, apart from these ones that are more Jewish, have a page, a blank page between Malachi and Matthew. And it usually says Holy Bible on it, right? And, you know, one of the things Yeshua said, he came to take down the middle wall of separation.
Right.
And he did that, of course, and Jews and Gentiles could come together to form the one new man. But the Romans took over, and the Romans were great wall builders. They started to build the wall again, and Constantine, by the time Constantine was finished,
that separation was there again.
The separation was there. See, what we've done is that blank page in the middle of people's Bibles, that's a wall of separation. You know, this is one book, 66 letters from God.
Right.
But that white page has separated the testaments. And so because of those first two disconnects, most Jewish people are disconnected from their God and from Messiah. And then because of the three, that most of the church is disconnected from Israel, because we've disconnected the testaments, and because most Jewish people are still disconnected from God, most of our family, our friends, our neighbors, the people we work with, most of the people in the world are also disconnected from their Creator.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the Jewish people are not there to fulfill that calling to be a light to the nation. So I believe that we're in this time of, you know, God is in the restoration business.
It's so key.
Yeah, and just going back to my motivational verse, Acts 3:21, we're living in the time of the restoration. God is restoring Israel, and now God is in the process of restoring the church back to the way it was at the beginning.
Absolutely.
So I believe my ministry is a restoration or reconciliation ministry. It's a bridge building.
Yeah.
And of course, we're in Vancouver right now. There's a lot of bridges.
A lot of bridges, right? A lot of water bodies that connected.
But you know, really, we're all called to be bridge builders.
We're truly
2 Corinthians 5:18, I think it is. It says, we are called to be ministers of reconciliation.
The ministry of reconciliation.
Yeshua. And the cross is a bridge.
It sure is.
Not that I'm overly enthused about using the cross as a symbol, but it is a bridge, and Yeshua was a bridge.
Right.
And we're called to be like him. We're all called to be ministers of reconciliation. So we're actually all called to be bridge builders.
Wonderful.
To help the church get restored back to Israel, to bridge the testaments again, to bring the Bible back together. That means spend a lot more time reading the Hebrew Scriptures.
Sure, absolutely.
And hopefully out of that, more and more Jewish people will get reconnected to God, and that 144,000 Jewish Messianic evangelists will come out of.
Amen. Well,
and many, many multitudes of people from every tribe and every tongue will be reconciled, will cross that bridge and get reconnected to our God.
Amen.
And our Creator. So really, that's the message I'm carrying. Really, at the moment, is that we truly are living at the end of the age, and God is in the restoration business, and all of those things are a part of the focus, or what God is wanting to restore in these days.
Oh, well, praise God, Brother Dave. Listen, you know, we're going to be praying that actually happens here in Canada. We pray that the Church of Canada will awaken to the understanding of God's plans, even as we're coming quickly to the return of Messiah.
Yeah, amen.
So wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that. Bless you. And we're looking forward to connecting again.
We conclude our program today with some sights and sounds within Israel. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to visit our website at www.icejcanada.tv or call us at 1-866-324-9133. And for our Canadian residents, you can ask for your free Canada Israel pin. Through your contribution to ICEJ Canada, you can participate by giving to Haifa Home for Holocaust Survivors, Women at Risk Red Carpet Project, Operation Life Shield, Bomb-Proof Shelters, Mentoring Program, Alias Support, Children's Projects, Israel in Crisis, Israel Aid, Magan David Adom Emergency Services, Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, Scholarship Program for Young Adult Leaders, ICEJ Canada Media, Gift to State Security Funds. Inside Israel with ICEJ Canada. Discover Israel, the land where Holy Scriptures originated and come alive, and where biblical prophecy is unfolding.
The main thing you can actually see right now is a massive structure that we can see its side rooms right here behind us.
There can't be any better way of learning than to come out and not just to read it, but to hear it and to see it.
When I was 3 years old, a little child, I came to Israel barefoot without my mother, and to see these children, and I hope for them to pave the way and to succeed in Israel.
And I even dare to say that maybe it's even more probable that Jesus walked on this floor than he walked in the synagogue.
Through dynamic interviews, teachings, and breathtaking panoramas, you will be inspired and learn about key events affecting the land of ancient heritage and of the current global impact. Join us each week for an unforgettable journey to the Holy Land and find out about the exciting work your Christian embassy is doing in the land of Israel.